I'm willing to get in the mud and figure that thing out so that we can make it work.
Lieutenant Governor Garlin Gilchrist is officially running for Michigan governor.
A position he knows well, working as Governor Gretchen Whitmer's right-hand man for the past 6 years.
I'm a problem solver who likes to build solutions, and I've seen too many people who create problems and not enough people who solve them.
The first Black lieutenant governor of Michigan, because you knew no limit.
And so what I'm proud of is saying that we are going to try. Even if it's hard, even if nobody figured it out yet, we can be the ones that figured it out. The way that things are, it doesn't have to be.
Is there anything that you've had to sacrifice for the sake of innovation?
In order to spend that much time on the road, listening to people, I've missed things. I can't say that I've been to all my kids' soccer games. I can't say that I was the one who was always able to pick my girls up from dance practice. I can't say that. And that sucks. I ask a lot of my wife. There is enough for us all to eat, enough for us all to achieve our wildest ambitions. The notion of impossibility is an opinion. People say this sometimes like, that's impossible. That's not a fact. That's an opinion. And frankly, it's an opinion of people who are not imaginative enough to believe it's not possible.
Has the culture around you ever resisted what you were trying to build? It's a journey worth traveling, your space for raw conversations and soulful insights around life's journey. Let's explore. This episode is in partnership with the 12th Congressional District Democrats and sponsored by the Detroit Medical Center. What's up, crew, and welcome back to the pod. I am your tour guide, Catherine, and just being able to take you on these trips, it is absolutely a vision come true. And today's trip is all about vision, backed by action. Now, can you guess what happens when you get a Black man from Detroit who steps into the highest office in the state and leads with vision, service, and tech? Well, you get Lieutenant Governor Garlin Gilchrist. And on today, he is leading us through the new land of innovation. For years, Garlin has been planting seeds across the state, seeds of equity, access, and opportunity. From closing the tech gap to driving innovation in our communities, to showing up unapologetically as a father, husband, and public servant. His work reminds us that innovation isn't about tools, it's about truth. It's about building systems that make space for all of us to thrive. And after this trip, you'll see that this man is the real deal. Honestly, I could go on and on about his powerful work and journey, but I'd rather you experience it for yourself. So I am not going to delay this trip anymore. Let's go forge boldly into the new land of innovation. I feel like we definitely have the right person to guide us in this new land of innovation.
I'm so happy to be here with you. Thank you for having me. Congratulations on the platform.
Thank you.
As a former podcast host myself.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that I did not know.
Yeah. But I respect all that it takes and the team to do this. So I'm really proud to be here with you in this platform.
Thank you so much. Well, we are definitely looking forward to you tour guiding us on today.
Let's do it.
So now we've just kind of gone over like some of the milestones, the big milestones, the historic moments. In order to be able to create a life like that, you got to be built a certain type of way. So let's talk about your source code.
Yeah.
I want to know, who is Garlin Gilchrist II?
I appreciate, first of all the coding references.
You like that?
I noticed that. Look, my most important job is a husband. So I married the love of my life. We had like this whole kind of, you seen the movie Sleepless in Seattle before? Ever heard of it? Okay, so think about that, but like with Black people, that was me and my wife, Ellen. She's from South.
So y'all about to do a movie. Like we gotta write the script.
She's from Southfield, but like we met actually when we were living by Coastal. But we will be celebrating our 16th anniversary this year.
Wow, congratulations. That is
it's
so
really
awesome.
So
I love me some
That's my
Black
first
love.
job as husband. And then we have 3 children. I have twins who were born on my birthday in 2013. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So all 3 of y'all just be celebrating birthdays together.
3 birthdays on September 24th.
Wow.
And then my baby girl, she was born on Juneteenth, 2019. And like, it's crazy.
Y'all are a movie for real. Y'all are seriously a movie.
But no, so just husband and father. Those are the 2 ways I start my identity. Is those two things, the responsibility and the privilege that comes with those two titles. And then beyond that, I think being an engineer, that's how I think. I think about the world in terms of the opportunity to solve problems and how to make a system work better for people. And so I always have thought about how do you figure things out? How do you understand things, understand people, and again, just like make something good happen, like create something. And so that's what I think about those. And then I guess finally, now in this chapter in my career of public service, which is something that, I didn't necessarily see coming at any point in my life, until being convinced that this was the path for this season and this chapter. And so, but again, husband, father, engineer, public servant, that's what I would say. That's who I am.
I love that. I love that. So when you hear the word innovation, how do you define it?
It's an important question because that word is thrown out a lot without being defined. And so I think sometimes when you can hear a word so often that it becomes meaningless, it becomes whatever that person wants it to mean. But I have a particular definition. So I think that I'll describe it in terms of how I would describe something as innovative. And I think something is innovative if it's new, if it's different, if it's better, and it creates more value for more people.
I love that.
New, different, better, more value, more people. 5 pieces of it. Now, notice what I didn't say.
What you didn't say?
It has nothing to do with technology. It is all about understanding and looking at a situation. That could be a relationship. It could be a program. It could be a building. Just a way of like standing up and showing up in the world. But then the more valuable and more people is important because innovations have to have impact. It's not innovative if it's just there, but it's not helping something or not doing something or accomplishing something. So that's why I think you need all those components. And so when I say something is innovative, someone is innovative, that thing that's happening, that is an example of innovation. I'm talking about all 5 of those things being true about it.
So for you then, what was your first experience with innovation?
I'll say my grandma was an innovator. My grandma Doris. She was a social studies teacher, and she was an innovator in a lot of ways because she introduced me to things. It was a blessing to have somebody in my family, in my life, who could introduce me to stuff. So my grandma, she would bring me to her classroom. And actually, she let me tag along with her class when they went to Lansing to go to the state capitol. First, I was probably in 3rd grade with her 8th graders. I was tall, I could fit in a little bit. But she introduced me to new and different and better experiences that I wouldn't have access to without her creativity. And then she was also the person who introduced me to technology. She bought me a computer when I was 5 years old.
5 years old.
And so I was the first kid on my block. So I'm from the east side of Detroit. So I was the first kid on my block on the east side on Wood Circle.
And you ain't get to take her.
To have a computer. Nah. But but on that though, so
no.
But look, who else didn't take it?
No offense to the east side.
See, I saw the shot. Yeah. I saw that. My parents didn't take it from me either. They let it be mine. And so she was innovative enough to get that for me. And they were innovative enough to let it be mine. So I could have this new and different and better experience. But the value comes in is because they let me understand how to create value with this technology, how to create value for myself, how to share this technology with people. I was doing that, showing them how to do things, And so I think my innovators in my life were, my grandma, my parents introduced me to things like that. That was my experience. I didn't know that. I didn't have that language as a 6-year-old. But looking back on it, that was a pretty revolutionary act.
Really, because they allow for you to also have that freedom to just be you and explore. And I feel like at that age, that is so essential.
Well, just fast forward to today, where you have so many of us who have this really deep anxiety about technology. Part of that is because we feel like the technology is moving and we can't do nothing about it, or it's happening to us. They blessed me with a level of comfort and confidence with technology to be like, I control this. I can make it do what I want to do.
Yeah.
I set the goals. I set the intention and make it happen. So it gives me confidence now, even as a leader in these times when technology is changing, to be like, no, we can determine the direction we want to go and then guide the technology toward that purpose. So we can be less anxious about it because we are the ones in the driver's seat. And so that was a gift that was given to me as a 5-year-old by my grandmother, who, I don't know why she did that. I don't know if she saw a commercial, but I don't know what happened. But one day,
it worked.
One day she was like, her baby needed to have a computer. And she did it.
That's so dope.
Yeah, a decisive Black woman made something happen.
Yeah.
There you go.
And then you kept going with it because at 16, you out here building like whole computer labs and stuff like that. I was like so impressed. I was like, okay, my 16 chapter on them look like no computer labs. I was like, okay, well, that's amazing.
It's an interesting story though, because so my mother worked at General Motors and she was an accountant at General Motors for 30 plus years. And there was this young Black guy who was like a technician who like fixed the printers and stuff for all the people on the floor she worked on. And she strikes up a conversation with this dude. His name was Antoine. And she learned that Antoine had a side hustle, basically building computers. So she's like, oh, my son likes technology.
He can do that.
He should come work for you. Antoine was like, he could come work for me. I can't pay him. And my mother, of course, like, I don't care if you pay him. Like, I just want to come work for you. So fast forward, she works it out so that Antoine takes me and my friend, who I, was also playing ball with, because I played basketball growing up too. She would take us after basketball practice to his apartment in Southfield. He stayed in his apartment right across from Northland. And I sat there on his living room floor and learned how to build computers. He taught me how to do that. And so then the first 5 I built myself completely were the ones that we installed at Bustle on the west side. And so that's where our computer lab came from. But it's a story though of, again, this guy was generous enough to take on these two, 14, 15-year-olds and say, okay, I'm gonna give y'all some game.
What did it teach you as a 16-year-old, like learning how to build out computers?
The learning actually came from what we did with the computers more than the building of the computers. So like I was able to teach a class at Bustle about how to use them. And so I think about the people who were in that class. We had a woman who was returning to work. I showed her how to use Microsoft Word to like make a resume. There was an elder woman who I showed how to use the mouse. And that was really special to me because my other grandma, she loved solitaire. She taught me how to play solitaire when I was little, like sitting in the bed with her. And so like that was kind of cool to teach that.
But that's so dope though. Like if God willing, these women are still alive, they're like, the lieutenant governor, he taught me how to play solitaire.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. It was like, crazy to find her. But like if she was still with us, but like that. And then, the one that hit me the hardest was this little girl whose name was April. And I showed her the internet like for the first time. And like for those of us now, like the world without internet is a hard thing to consider. But like I lived in a world before the internet was something available to like, regular people. So we're sitting there at the computer, and this is 1998 for context. We type in the word tiger, me and April, and these pictures come up. And so the first picture, Old English D, Detroit Tigers, let's go, first result, it's great. The second picture was of a tiger that was like outside. And so she asked me, is that tiger at the zoo? Like at the Detroit Zoo? I said, no, sweetheart, that tiger is in India. And she was like, I've never seen before in the way that I could remember before that moment, like somebody, like a new door opened in a person's imagination, the way I saw it when she did that.
Wow.
And so that showed me, what I took away from that experience was that technology, when deployed thoughtfully, can open up all kinds of new possibilities and opportunities for people. And so that was really cool to be part of as a teenager.
Yeah, no, absolutely. To give that person that access, that imagination, that freedom, that's super dope.
Yeah.
So not only did you code, you also bought.
Yeah.
So as a tall person, here's what I need to know myself. So I played basketball as a kid, but I feel like people were like, oh, she's tall, she should play basketball. For you, were they like, he's tall, he can ball? Or was it this actual initial love for basketball?
I see like hooping.
Okay.
So my dad introduced me to basketball when I was 3 or 4. Go to my father, and then he would pick me up. I'll date myself a little bit. It's like Bad Boys time, late 80s. So my dad, after we would finish playing around, then he would pick me up. My dad's 6'5.5". He'd pick me up and hold me up so I could dunk the ball. And he'd be like, hang on the rim like Dennis Rodman and John Sally. It was pretty great. So no, I loved basketball. I still do. I wish I could hoop more now than I do. But like, so no, I started playing organized basketball when I was 8. Started playing AAU basketball when I was 9. And I played all the way till I was 17, all the way through high school. I didn't play college basketball though. I wanted to be a nerd and an engineer when I wanted to be a college basketball player at Michigan. So I didn't do that.
Was that a hard decision, or was like, nah, this is...
Not really. I mean, look, I was good. I wasn't elite, you know? So like I didn't think I was going to the league. You know, I came to that realization in 10th grade. I was like, yeah, like I'm probably not going to the league. You know? So which like, after I realized that, I actually started playing better, which is kind of funny. But nah, it wasn't tough. Like I knew that basketball was something that was fun for me.
Yeah.
But like that wasn't going to be my ticket. How
did the game influence how you approach life off the court?
So, you know, the way I think about it is as a ball player, I did 2 things really well. I was a jump shooter and I was a rebounder. And I think about those 2 things as a metaphor for a lot of ways to try to approach the world. As a scorer, what you think about is like I guess we talking basketball now. So like, so.
But I said I wasn't good, so I'm gonna try to follow. But I think
So you can work with it. I know you can. So as a scorer, you have certain spots on the court that you know you can score from. Mm-hmm. That if I get to my spot, I'm gonna score. And it doesn't matter what the defense does. If I get you foul line extended on the right side, it's a wrap. If I get you on the left block, I can turn over my left shoulder, barbecue chicken, like it's a wrap, right? Like so there are certain spots you have. And that shows me that as long as you understand what you need to do and what your purpose is and what your goal is, role is, and you do the things that you're supposed to do, like things can't stop you. So I think about that a lot in terms of anything that I'm facing or any problem before me that it's like, if we figure out what we need to do and do that thing, we're going to get there.
That's such a great strategy.
But then as a rebounder, what I think about is anticipation. Watching, paying attention to the play, knowing, you know, when the ball goes up, being able to see where is this going to go? How do I get there first? How do we have a sense of the ball? You know, they say be like a nose for the ball. How do you know what's about to happen? How do you anticipate things? And so the goal is to get a rebound and then put the ball into the hands of somebody who can do something with it. Defensive rebound, make the outlet pass. Let's go. We're on a fast break. Offensive rebound, put it back up yourself. Find somebody else who can score. Like, I mean, I think that is, so I think about that as a rebounder. And this is about that applies to problem solving, being observant, then being able to respond to what you see.
Yeah.
Taking action based on what's happening in the real world. Like, so that fed me as an engineer. That feeds me as a public servant. Like, I mean, it's all connected. Like we are the product of our experiences.
Yes.
And so I think that's why it's important for us to be able to help one another reflect and to think about, like, you know, what's happened in your life, because all of us, with our challenging circumstances and our triumphant ones, they all teach us things. Mm-hmm. And so I've learned a lot from playing basketball as a result.
I love that.
J. Crew, if you are enjoying this trip and you have not already, I would love for you to like and subscribe so that you never miss a trip and we can continue to grow our community. Now, back to this trip.
So you've been making like really great decisions, like up until then you decided to go to U of M.
It's a great decision.
I'm a smart, so I had to throw that in there. I had to throw that in there.
Hey, look, no apologies. Great decision.
No, but it is an amazing school. And then the interesting thing is you decided not to take on one major, but to double major. Yeah. So computer science, computer engineer.
Yeah.
How has engineering facilitated the way you lead?
Yeah. To me, what engineering means is how do you make systems work for people? And so different engineers have different tools. Mechanical engineers have a set of tools. Civil engineers have a set of tools. Chemical engineers have a set of tools. But what we all have in common is that we gain an approach of how do we observe? How do we look at what's happening? If we see a problem and that problem may be complex, how do we break it down into its like components? And then how do we attack and solve each of those problems and have that roll up into a big solution that ultimately makes a system that is currently failing to make that system work. And so to me, that informs why I listen to people. Like my job is, you know, how many people can I listen to in a day? That's what my job is, lieutenant governor. And so what that's led to, while being in office for 6 years alongside Governor Whitmer, is I've been all over Michigan, places I had never knew existed or dreamed about as a child. But Michigan's a really big place. You know, we're the largest state physically east of the Mississippi River. Yeah, it is.
Fun fact.
We have 2 peninsulas, 83 counties. And I've been to all 83 counties in Michigan 3 or more times.
Wow.
So I've put a lot of time in on the road.
Yeah.
But the reason I do that is because as an engineer, I need to understand this system called Michigan, this collection of systems called Michigan, how things interact with one another, understand the challenges that people share with me, how things bubble up. And when you see common threads about housing and healthcare and prices and jobs and education, like when you hear what they're saying, then the engineer mind says, okay, you've told me a problem, so let's find a solution or let's build a solution to help address that problem and make this system that is currently failing you, not delivering results for you, make it so that it delivers results for you. I'm different. There are 0 people in the country besides me who have my background, who are in state elected office. Engineer, I'm a software developer, not a guy who worked at a tech company, but a guy who wrote code, who shipped code, right? Because it's a different kind of perspective. It's like I'm willing to get in the mud and figure that thing out so that we can make it work.
And you're from the east side, so yeah, we know you ready. Yeah, you know.
Right.
No, but I think that's so, I mean, to your point, like engineer's job is to fix things, right? Mm-hmm. So while politicians may be selling you on the fix, like you're actually able to fix the problem just because of how you approach things and how your brain works and what you've been trained to do.
I mean, I think it brings a different level of credibility to the conversation of, are we able to solve problems and make progress? And I can point to systems that have been failing people where I've been able to do that. You know, so in all those conversations, thousands of conversations with people all across Michigan, people talk about the lack of access to affordable housing or not enough available housing for them in their communities. And this is true everywhere. It's true in Detroit. It's true in the suburbs. It's true in rural parts of Michigan. It is true everywhere. Now, I heard that enough times. It's like, well, we need to understand what we can do about that. Yeah. Like, that's not that if you can't live in a place,
how do we address it?
Then you're going to leave it, right? So for me, what that led to is looking at what we have available to us in state government. In this case, we have something called the Community Development Fund. Mm-hmm. It's a housing trust fund, a pile of money that should be dedicated to creating affordable housing that had no money in it. That it existed for 60 plus years and was only used for 2 of those years. And so I said, we can put money in the fund and immediately activate the development of housing across Michigan. Mm. So we started that during COVID, and now we put $50 million in it every year. And now, you know, in the last 3 years, 60,000 new homes have been built and brought online. We've never built housing units that quickly in the history of the state of Michigan. So when I say, you know, understand the problem, let's find a solution or build a solution, and then let's execute and make it happen. Yeah. That's an example of what that means. And like, I don't know that I would think like that if I wasn't an engineer who was ready to do that work.
Going back to your journey. So after college, you pack up your bags, you moved 2,000 plus miles away to go work for one of the most innovative companies, though, Microsoft. Mm-hmm. As innovative, though, as Microsoft is, at the time, there was like only 2.6% of Black people working at Microsoft. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And here you are, fresh out of college. For you, what was that experience like? Because that's such a bold move.
Yeah. So when I was in college, after my freshman year, I did an internship with General Motors. I learned a lot in that experience. It was great. But when that was finished, I remember being at home at the end of that summer before going back to campus and saying to my mother that, like, I didn't think that General Motors is where I was going to work. I wanted to work for Microsoft. Mm-hmm.
You knew this.
I told her that.
Why Microsoft?
I mean, Microsoft was the biggest, baddest tech company.
Okay, so it's like we aim high.
We going straight to Mount Everest.
Got it. Okay,
so
say less.
That's where I want to work, right? And I didn't know really what the path was for that at that point. But I'll tell you how I got there. So going back to campus, again, now this is the start of my sophomore year. Mm-hmm. There were not a lot of Black students in the electrical engineering and computer science department at the University of Michigan at that point. This is 2001. There used to be an organization, though, that was called BEACS, Black Electrical Engineers and Computer Scientists. It was students helping students to be successful. So because we gonna graduate together. That organization had helped a lot of people, but it had kind of done the thing that student organizations do. Sometimes they kind of fizzle out. We don't have another person to still lead it, whatever, right? Well, I found out about this org and decided I'm going to resurrect this organization. We're going to stand this back up. So I did. So we're starting early school year, all good. And then I get an email from the recruiter at Microsoft. And she says to me, I still know this woman, she's still a friend. She says, hey, we want to do a resume writing workshop on campus. And they would come to campus and they would pick student groups to be their like partner hosts. And okay, I want to do this with BEACS. This sounds like an engineering organization. So you're going to be my partner. So I'm like, yes.
Bet.
This is great.
Yeah, right.
So we had this resume writing workshop. The room had a capacity for like 70 people, like 200 people were there. Because of course, Microsoft's going to tell me what to put in my resume to work in Microsoft. People are going to come to that. So a bunch of people came, was really successful. And at the end of the event, doing a cleanup, we got a big pile of resumes on the back table. So I'm back there with the recruiter. We like, again, get stuff together. And she's like, well, I hope your resume's in this pile. And I said, no, mine's not in that pile. I want to give it to you personally. And so I handed it to her and everything. And I thought I was being pretty smooth with that.
Yeah, that was good. That was super secure. Yeah.
That led to, being fortunate enough to get an interview and then ultimately get an internship at Microsoft that following summer. So in Seattle, I drove out there with my dad. I ended up interning 3 times at Microsoft and then going to work there full time. So that's how I got my foot in the door at Microsoft. But the lesson there is that, yes, I had that goal, but where that came from was me trying to help other people be successful. It came from us working together as Black students trying to survive this College of Engineering. And I think about that a lot. Like if we are trying to create the conditions for people to be successful and supported, we all win. Good things come from that.
Yeah,
and so I think about that in my role as well. I think about that, my role as a partner. It's like this. If we need to be focused on helping people and serving people, and good things will flow from that.
But I just love, number one, it's fascinating to always just hear you put it out there. I want to work for Microsoft. Yeah. All of a sudden, this lady calls you like, "Hey, you want to help us with a resume, a resume workshop? I work for Microsoft." And then you hand her the resume. But to your point, the seeds that you planted, right? And it wasn't of scarcity. It wasn't of lack. It was, I want to support. I want to work with people. I want to build teams. I want to make sure that we all win. Yeah. And it's in that mindset of abundance that you attract that. And now we cross country in it, to Seattle with Dad. About to work for Microsoft.
I mean, the word you use, abundance, is important because the truth is, there are things that we gotta have fights about, and there are things that we don't.
Yeah.
And there is enough for us all to eat, enough for us all to be the people we want to be.
Yeah.
To get to the places that we want to go, to achieve our wildest ambitions that our imaginations can conceive of. I really believe that, and I think that we have to do the work to make that true, to put in place the pathways and the guardrails such that people, when they're ready to walk a path, they can walk it. And selfishly, I want them to do that in Michigan.
Yeah.
I don't want people to have to feel like, they need to make the choice that I made. In 2005, wanting to be a software developer, finishing at Michigan, I believed that in order to be the professional I wanted to be, that I needed to go elsewhere. That I needed to go west. And so I moved to the West Coast to pursue that dream. I don't want people to feel like that's true.
Yeah.
I want people to feel like they can be the best version of themselves here. I hated that I had to make that choice.
Yeah.
I felt like I made a choice, right? And that's why, look, my first business was in response to me making that choice. I started a job and internship website called Detroit Intern in 2006 because I felt guilty about leaving home. Because I was like, this is a bad look. So
I should be able to do this at home.
Yeah.
But I absolutely understand where you're coming from, because after leaving college, I went to the West Coast too for production and got thrown into public relations, but out in LA. So I get it. I mean, it's great to be able to know that you can create success or be successful at home, and you have the option if you want to leave, but if I want to stay, like, I can be just as successful.
That's right. I need that to be viable. You know, look, because there are circumstances you can't control. Look, you fall in love with somebody who live in Denver. Okay, like whatever. But what broke my heart is when I would hear people say, "I ain't never coming back to Detroit." That would break my heart. And so I never want anybody to close the door on Michigan. I always want the answer to the question of, is this possible in Michigan, to be yes, I do. And so there are things we can do, there are choices we can make so that that's true for people today and going forward.
Yeah. So what has that roadmap look like for you?
It started with me encouraging people to come home. Mm-hmm. So when I lived elsewhere, I lived in Seattle and I lived in Washington, D.C. I lived on both coasts.
Right.
Before coming home. I was gone for 9 years. But I literally tried to start a movement for people to come back. It was called Detroit Diaspora.
That is so cool, though.
Yeah. And it was
come home. I'm back now, y'all. Come back to us.
But that was before I came home. That was before that. So I started this when I was living in DC. What I observed is there were these Detroit communities and all these communities because so many people had gone elsewhere to pursue opportunity. And so a couple years later, after the census came out, in 2011 when the 2010 census was released, and it showed that Michigan was the only state to lose population in the country. And a lot of that was from people leaving the Metro Detroit area. I thought, well, that means there's a Detroit community in every community. So I started this Detroit Diaspora thing to how do we connect all the Detroiters in a place to one another? So we started this online thing and gave people this way to organize basically Detroit meetups in their cities. And the goal of that was to help people build community with that identity as Detroiters. But then to let them know that if this place gave you so much and helped you become the person who you are,
right,
you should be useful to the place that made you who you are. And that means different things to different people. And so for me, it meant I'm gonna come home. So no, it was great. I actually introduced the concept publicly at Michigan State in 2011. I gave
green.
I know, right? So 2011, I was invited to give a TED talk at the Wharton Center about Detroit Diaspora. So you check that out.
I'm gonna check that out. I'm gonna check that out. No, but I absolutely love that. So for me in creating the podcast, I wasn't in Michigan, but I came back to Michigan to build out the studio because I was very much so like yourself. To your point, there's something unique about Detroiters. Yeah. We have this grit. We have this je ne sais quoi. We have these rich textured stories. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to tell those stories. That was important. That was my heart posture, to be able to tell these stories first. Yeah. The thing is not that we lack talent. Mm-mm. It's just the opportunity.
Yeah.
So
and I think you also did that out of a sense of pride.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right? You are proud of where you're from and how it made you.
Yep.
And so that we all have that, and you wanted to give people a platform to express that too. And we all express it in different ways. But no, I love that you did that. That's really important. We need storytellers to tell people's stories.
Yeah. So. And reading all about all the things that you've done within Detroit and then within Michigan, I was super inspired too. Innovation is all about newness. And with that, there's a lot of risk that comes with that. And not everybody gets what you're trying to do. Has the culture around you ever resisted what you were trying to build?
Yes.
Do tell.
Well, to be a little more precise. So I think progress is always exists in the context of resistance.
Mm-hmm. That's facts.
So that's true regardless. Playing basketball, the other team is trying to win too, right? So it's so there's always going to be resistance. We celebrate scores. There are defenders trying to stop them.
Yeah.
The way I think about it is, I think we need to be careful not to be limited by precedents. We need to be willing to be bold enough to say that something that has not happened yet merely has not happened yet. And I think oftentimes, and it doesn't always come from a bad place, like sometimes people are genuinely concerned. Like, let's take President Obama, right? There were a lot of particularly like elder Black women who were worried about his safety. Because like, this Black man is about to do this.
Yeah.
We've seen what's happened to Black men doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they were genuinely worried about that. That wasn't them resisting him and not supporting him. That was just like being like,
concerned. Yeah.
this is risky.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Do we want to put him in that position because I don't want him to be taken from his wife and his family?
Right. Right.
I mean, so it's like, I just shared that as an example. That doesn't always come from a bad place.
No, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
There were people who didn't think that, you know, I would be able to work at Microsoft as a sophomore because Microsoft didn't even hire interns as underclassmen. Then people didn't think that was possible. Take the Black part out of it. Like you literally just learned the code 3 months ago, right? Like, what are you doing? So the notion of being the lieutenant governor of Michigan, that was unprecedented. But it happened. Like you know, our proverb from the continent that nothing changes until something changes. It's like everything is crazy till it happened. And then it's like, what we been waiting for? Yeah. I'll give you an example, like a policy example. I led a task force on jail and pretrial incarceration starting in 2019. I co-led it with the woman who was the Chief Justice of the Michigan Supreme Court, Bridget McCormick, brilliant woman. And we went all over Michigan and talking to people from all different walks of life about does like the jail system work for you in terms of delivering public safety, in terms of positioning people for success once they are done with it? And the answer was an overwhelming no. People didn't feel safer, people didn't feel supported, and people certainly didn't feel like they were positioned for success coming out. Well, one of the things we saw was that, you know, people who have records are often limited in the things that they can do. You got certain things on your record. You can't rent an apartment. You can't go back to school. You can't be reunited with your kids if you've been separated from them. You can't get some jobs. They discriminate against you because you have a record. But we had these laws in Michigan, though, that allow people to get their records cleared. After a certain amount of time, you've served your time, you've paid your debt to society, you can now get this taken off of your record. But that process was terrible. It was cumbersome. It was expensive. It took a long time. And so people weren't doing it. That was a system that was not working for people. And so learning about that, I thought, well, maybe we could fix this system in a really important way. The law says that after this time has passed, and because it was this particular kind of offense, you should be able to get it cleared. Like, it should be gone. What if we could automate that process and say that rather than you having to go through some process and system that was cumbersome and expensive, you had to hire a lawyer, know who to call, wait on this thing, get a judge, convince a judge. But the law says the justice is yours. So why can't the justice just be yours?
Right.
So I got to work and worked on legislation that ended up being supported by both Republicans and Democrats to put in place a process to automatically clear people's records when they were eligible to be cleared. And when we lit that up on April the 12th of 2023, 1 million offenses came off of people's records that day.
Wow.
There are more than 330,000 people in Michigan right now who are fully able to participate in civic and economic life.
That's incredible.
Get a job, start a business, see your kids, get an apartment, get a mortgage.
I have like
go back to school,
That's
right?
so awesome.
And we need people to be able to, again, realize their full potential in Michigan.
Yeah.
And so I use that example because I was told that was not possible. It was not possible to automate that process. Oh, we could do something like this, but it's going to cost $50 million and we have to hire, 50 people in state government to do that. But me, as an engineer, but me, as a systems guy, as someone who has, when I worked in the city of Detroit, I connected data systems that weren't designed to be connected before. So we got a state like Michigan with 83 counties, 81 county jails data systems, and none of them that are compatible with one another. But I knew it was possible to make the incompatible compatible, to be able to make something happen that wasn't possible before. And so what happened, we did that work. It took a couple years. Probably could have done it faster. I would hope, but it took a couple years. But now we have the most inclusive, expansive, automatic criminal record clearance program in the country with Clean Slate.
That
Things
is
are possible
incredible.
in Michigan that are not possible anywhere. And if I would have listened to the people who were like, "Oh, that's too hard, LG."
Right, that part.
We can't do that. That would take too much money, too much time. Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Because you know what? The people who are ready to work, the people who were ready to become homeowners, the people who were ready to be reunited with their kids as mothers and fathers, like they are hungry for this.
Yes.
And so let's help them get that justice.
I love that. Okay, so but here's what I need to know. Because like you said, the ops is going to come. The opposition is there. You're going to have the doubters, the haters, the naysayers. So how are you, like what's keeping you grounded? What is the mindset that's needed in moments like that when the ops come and you know that you need to stay committed to the mission and the vision?
Yeah, I mean, having deep belief is obviously a prerequisite. I believe that this is the journey that I'm supposed to be on. You know, my wife and I believe that. But honestly, the thing that keeps me grounded is that like the people in my life who don't care about my job are the ones who keep me grounded. You know, again, my kids are 11 and 5.
Yeah.
They could care less
about
anything I do at work, right? So they keep me grounded.
Yeah.
My wife, bro, that's cool, but you need to do these things. That keeps me grounded.
Yeah.
My friends who I was friends with before I entered public life. Well, when I go to their house, we talk about everything except my job. That keeps me grounded.
Yeah.
Just in like, let's think about real problems. I mean, it's kind of like, so I remember, when my twins were born, I worked at an advocacy organization. It was called MoveOn.org. It was this national progressive organization where we got people involved in political activism around the country. I was able to take parental leave after my twins were born. And that was the best. The 6 weeks I got to spend fully off and focused on my babies were the best 6 weeks of my life. It was transformational. I think everybody should have parental leave. I took parental leave from my third child when I was lieutenant governor. No one had ever done that before. But then it's really important. We need to make sure that parents have the ability to spend time with their babies, right?
Yeah.
Especially fathers.
Yeah.
But when I remember coming back to work and thinking that so many things that we argued about weren't important. So I think about being grounded and being real, and you got to be connected with people to know that. So again, when I talk about spending so much time on the road all across Michigan, it's to listen to people so that their voices are the ones that I'm thinking about when I'm trying to make a decision. That keeps me grounded. But to this question of the mindset you need to have, you have to be answering the right questions. If you are dealing with the right question or trying to solve the right problem, as someone who's motivated by problem solving, it's important to me to know that I'm working on the right things. And so the more I can connect with people so I know that this is what's actually important, not this, not all the noise, this.
This, yeah.
And a lot of times if you ask somebody, they'll tell you. Like they'll tell you what the most important thing is to them.
Yeah.
But there are too many people who are not comfortable enough nor courageous enough to just ask a person that question and then genuinely listen to them. Not come to that conversation, let me tell you what I think is the problem. That's the wrong way to show up in that conversation. Sometimes people are afraid of possibility. And people push back on what they're afraid of, they don't understand. And so I think part of my role is to try to create more space for more things to be possible and dare us to think bigger.
Yeah.
That's my job.
I absolutely love that. And to go back to like your point when you're talking about Obama even, right? Like people not even necessarily having like ill will, right? Like it's just, they don't want to see you being harmed or hurt. But like looking at what was on the other side of that opportunity, like we have the first Black president, right? And so when I think about that, even just like the reason why we're sitting here now is through me sticking to my personal vision. But going back like before all of that, I was at a personal low, decided to go outside of the country for like 5 months on what I like now call my LCA, my life-changing adventure. At that point, when I was telling everybody like I'm about to go abroad,
by myself as a woman. They were like, what? Like, are you crazy? Exactly. Like, are you crazy? Like, no way. Like, absolutely not. And it was, again, like no ill will. Like they were literally concerned about my safety, right? But had I listened to that, had I let that doubt and that fear creep in, then I wouldn't have had taken this trip. And that was ultimately the catalyst for the podcast. So me taking that trip, me experiencing all that is then what has me taking this trip with you on today. So it's like, you have no idea what's on the other side of the innovation, right? And you just have to try to block out the noise as much as possible and keep going and just stay committed to the mission. Had you listened to all these different naysayers about what couldn't be done, 1 million offenses, you know, being removed, like that wouldn't have been possible.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's very inspiring, that journey for you. But I bet if you think back, you did have a lot of people who were trying to convince you not to do that. But there was like one person or two people who fed you. They was like, yeah, you should do that. I believe in you.
Yeah.
And so that gives you life.
For sure.
In those moments, right? Yeah. Somebody's like, yes, you can do that. You can. And so, you know, we do need to have those people in our lives, try to be those people in other people's lives. That is important because you say you never know what's on the other side of that opposition, that opportunity. It's also true that you never know what's on the other side of that encouragement. I believe that because only good things come from it.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so here you are, an engineer, and then you make this shift to public service. What came along that really kind of just initiated that spark for you to make that shift?
I mean, in hindsight, there were always seeds there. You know, my parents, who I described, you know, they were super active in our neighborhood, Elmwood Park. They ran the neighborhood association. So I'm 4 years old at neighborhood association meetings. You know, like when they were working on projects, there are a number of apartment buildings, like kind of larger apartment buildings that mostly seniors live in over here in this part of Detroit. And so they were doing this work when those buildings were being constructed. But people in the community were worried about these buildings being ugly, basically, right? So they advocated for there to be art projects adjacent to these buildings. So if you look at all those buildings over there, if you go around McDougal as it winds around there by Shane, all those big apartment buildings have sculptures in front of them. Like that was work that they did, like community people made that happen. So I saw that as a kid. And even when we moved to Farmington, and like, so we were this very different neighborhood, very different context, very different circumstance. We was like one of 2 or 3 Black families in this subdivision. My parents, again, dove in, got super active and involved and engaged. So the notion of engagement was not anything that was foreign to me. And then my parents, they watched a lot of political news. So as a kid, that was always in the house. It was like C-SPAN, CNN, and Motown, right? It was in the house. So I heard.
It sounded like what's on my dad. Yeah, that sounded like my dad.
So I knew all the names of all the elected officials, and the dinner table is on, and like CNN Crossfire, they're debating what's Bill Clinton doing. That all just kind of absorbed all that. And so, apparently when I was in 5th grade, we had a mock presidential debate in my 5th grade class. And I got to be Bill Clinton in the debate. Let's just say when the debate was over, the George Bush kid had a bad day. And so my teacher, her name was Mrs. Butler, she called my parents and was like, Garlin did like really well in the debate. And they said, well, we watch a lot of politics. so
he's learning well at home. Yeah.
He was listening.
Those kids, they do absorb. Yeah.
It's funny. So the seeds were laid. But what probably pushed me over the edge to be even more mindful was, so as a student at Michigan, so I was there and I felt very connected to Black students on campus. I ran an organization for Black men on campus at the time called HEADS, but we were there when our school's admissions policy for the undergrad and the law school were challenged up to the Supreme Court, saying that it was unconstitutional for University of Michigan to use race as a factor in admissions decisions. So I helped to organize a student response to that, like events on campus. We organized buses to go to Washington, D.C. for our day in court on the Supreme Court. So I had like a rally on the steps of the Supreme Court with like Jesse Jackson, about this. But I remember also dealing with like super racist stuff on campus. So like the one that's probably the clearest example or illustration is this group called Young Americans for Freedom. It's like this like young Republicans group. So they had what they called an affirmative action bake sale. And what that meant, they had all these baked goods, muffins and bagels and whatever, and they charged different prices depending on your race. So it's like, this muffin costs $8 if you're white. And it costs $4 if you're Latino and $2 if you're Black and, 25 cents if you're Native American or whatever. It was like super, it's like deeply, disturbingly racist, right? Yeah. So we saw that. It's like, we got to do something about this.
For sure.
So you can't see on camera. I am 6 feet 8 inches tall. Okay. And all of my closest friends are 6'3" and up. Let's just say 5 of us put on black hoodies and went and stood in front of the sale.
I love that.
Didn't say nothing. Just stood there. And the sale ended. So we're doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that was something that
was so innovative.
Politicized me because it was terrible. And so we got a split decision on that Supreme Court case, which then laid the groundwork for Prop 2 in Michigan, which unfortunately then it kicked Black enrollment at Michigan, in Michigan State in particular, like it kicked it off a cliff. We went from 12% enrollment to 3% enrollment that we have today. Is terrible. But so those experiences really showed me that there's work to do in this realm.
Absolutely.
But the thing about it though is I never thought that would be my job. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this engineering, blah, blah. And then like I'll have a hobby doing this kind of thing. So I volunteered on the Obama campaign while I was living out in Seattle. And it was the campaign office in downtown Seattle was a block away from my wife's apartment. So we go over there together. For those of you who, when you volunteer for a political campaign, you go to the office and somebody gonna give you a sheet of paper or gonna put an app on your phone and it's gonna have a list of people for you to call and tell them to vote. That's basically the crux of political volunteering is that.
Yeah.
So I'm doing that. And a guy comes through the office, his name is Eddie Lee, and he's asking everybody, who they are, how they doing, what they do. And I told him, I'm a software engineer at Microsoft. And he was like, oh, for real? He calmly takes the clipboard away and said, we're going to put that right here and you come with me.
Run that, yeah.
So they then kind of put me in to work on tech and to run social media for the state of Washington, which was very different in 2008. You know what I'm saying? Like Friendster and MySpace and super early Facebook and super early Twitter was a year old. It was a long time ago. But what I saw with that experience, so wait a minute. These are like hardcore technology people that are not doing that to like make the people who work at Shell oil companies workday more productive. They're doing this to help people realize their political power and potential. That's super inspiring.
That is.
And so that is that insight, and observation, and they getting paid. They getting like health insurance to do this. like that's the job.
They making impact money.
I never knew that was possible because nobody in my family work for a nonprofit. Like what is that?
Yeah.
So I never knew that was a thing, and so that opened my eyes to this being a professional possibility. Now, alongside that, I had started a political blog when I worked at Microsoft.
For real?
Yeah. So
Dang, look at all like these stars aligning. This is crazy.
So in 2005, it was the day after the mayoral election in 2005. So the day after Kilpatrick got reelected. That's when I started my blog. And in 2005, not a lot of Black political bloggers. Okay, not a lot. I knew all of them. I met all of them eventually.
They was a part of the diaspora.
Right. Nobody else from Detroit, interestingly enough. I met people from around the country who were doing political work through this blog that I started. And I created this collect. It was called the Super Spade, Black Thought at the Highest Level. And then this thing called Black Net Action.
I just love the way you be bringing people together. Like but
we started this thing, right? But what it was about was that there were other, like, again, Black folks who were like doing activism on the internet. So what if we could work together, right? And so to tie these together, so people who I met doing that, and then combined with the experience in the Obama campaign, when I'm like, you know what, y'all, I think I want to try to work in movement. And they were like, well, we can help you.
Say what? Yeah.
And so they helped me, meet people and learn about organizations. And that's what ultimately enabled me to be able to quit my job in Microsoft. Like in the span of, I quit my job in Microsoft. I got married a week later. And a month later, we moved to Washington, D.C. for me to start working in the movement. Like that's how that worked. And that was because those people helped me.
Yeah. In that early part of your public service career, was there like something along the journey that was just really confirmation, like, Garlin, you on the right path?
Well, I think there were a few things. I'd say about a full circle moment.
Okay.
So 2012. So we made that decision. So I left Microsoft in 2009. So in 2012, I'm working for an organization called MoveOn.org. It's an email-based advocacy organization. And my title was National Campaign Director, ran all our national work. 2012, President Obama's reelection. So I was running our volunteer program that was getting people to volunteer in these swing states, the states that were going to be decisive for the election. And so my job was to write emails to get people to go volunteer. So one day I'm sitting there writing up a recruiting message, and it hit me that, remember I told you I got an email to volunteer at an Obama campaign office? So I got that email in 2008. And I wrote that email in 2012.
Dang.
And so I said to my manager, I was like,
wow.
Yo, I just realized, like, I received this email. The email that literally I got that email 4 years ago.
Wow.
And that is what started me on this path to be able to come and do this work now. So I guess I would call that confirmation.
It just continues to just reaffirm you're absolutely on the right path.
Yeah.
Do you believe everybody can innovate or be an innovator?
I think that we all have a role to play in it. And what I will say is, I do think we all are capable of having innovative ideas. I do believe that. And I believe that we all are capable of making sure innovation is possible. And so for some people, you might not be the ideas person in the group, but you're the person who can make it work. Like, we need everybody to have some function in this. So I think that we all have something that we can do to contribute to innovation being possible. We are all capable of having ideas, and then some of us are better than others at executing on ideas. Yeah, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, we got different talents and different strengths, but collectively together, it's team effort. Yeah, absolutely. So innovation comes at a cost, and it requires sacrifice. It requires the removal of something, letting something go. Yeah. So in order to innovate, is there anything that you've had to sacrifice and let go for the sake of innovation? You're right that things have cost. My pastor, Nathan Johnson at Tabernacle Missionary Baptist Church, he said that all things that are free are not without cost, right? And I do believe that. One of the things you can call it sacrifice, or you just have to admit, is that all the innovations don't work. Some of it doesn't work. Some ideas are bad. I've had 2 businesses that have been successful. I've had more business ideas than 2. Right. So I think one thing, so that this is a different way to come into your question, but you got to recognize that sometimes stuff ain't gonna work. Yeah. Yeah. And we have to be able to absorb that. So that's the first thing. So you get humbled by reality. that all your ideas are not good. So that's one thing, right? This is facts. Yeah. I think I think if you approach innovation the wrong way, you leave people out of it. We need to come up with solutions that can ultimately serve everyone. Now, different people have different needs. You have different circumstances. You need to be responsive to those differences.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we need everybody to be able to go forward. And so I think the way you approach it needs to be one that's mindful of not leaving people out or leaving people behind. You know, when I think about, for example, the state of Michigan over the last 3 years has been the #1 state in the country for the number of jobs we've created in the clean energy space in terms of growth.
That's great.
Other states have set goals like that too. But what they haven't done is been really thoughtful about, if you have a job in today's economy, how do we make sure you got a job in tomorrow's economy?
Yeah.
And so we like literally set up infrastructure, Office of Economic and Worker Transition, that the point of that office is to make sure that we can walk with you from point A to point B and not leave you out of the future and say, yeah, we going forward and sorry for you if you don't feel like you can see yourself in it. No, we're not going to leave anybody out. You know, we need to have everyone be part of this future. That future is not successful if everybody's not part of it. We need to have a big enough conception of and a vision for the future so that we see you in it. That you see yourself in it.
Yeah.
Like I think that's the biggest difference, frankly, between, you know, some people's vision of the future is too small. When people try to exclude people, it's because they're not thinking big enough. That's kind of, you know, sideways to your question, but like I think that we have to do things. We have the ability, we have the agency, we have the power to innovate in ways that include people.
So for you personally on your journey, what things have you had to let go for innovation, for the sake of innovation?
Yeah, I mean, in order to spend that much time on the road listening to people, I've missed things. I can't say that I've been to all my kids' soccer games. I can't say that I have, you know, I was the one who was always able to pick my girls up from dance practice. I can't say that. And that sucks. I ask a lot of my wife. So that's hard. I do struggle with that. I try to drop my kids off at school every day. They late every day though. I got a letter from the school about chronic tardiness. It was tough. It was tough.
Like I'm doing the best that I can.
It was tough. Hey, they're supposed to be there at 8:10. It might be 8:14.
You know, but they got there.
They here. The hair is mostly brushed. It's great.
Yeah.
So that's the family piece is real. And I mean, look, there have been missed opportunities. I had the opportunity to be the co-founder of a startup that ended up being really successful. I didn't take it because I was scared. I think about in my job now how to make sure I'm not missing what somebody's actually saying. There's a lot of pieces.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately, like my job is to make sure that people feel like they can do the things that they hope to do here. The new things, the different things, the better things, the valuable things, that they can feel like that's possible here. But if you don't feel like that's possible, then you don't have hope. And hopelessness and desperation is a dangerous thing.
Absolutely.
You know, so that's my job.
What does creating innovation look like within your own home?
I'm the fifth most important person in my house. Okay.
No, I think you give yourself a little more credit.
I don't. Like, it's funny. Like everybody picks Mama. Mama's most popular, most important. What does innovation mean like in our house? That's an interesting question. We are trying to do like the 2020 version of facilitating our kids' independence. My twins are 11. My baby girl's 5. Starting a couple of years ago, we'll like send our kids on a bike to go buy stuff at the grocery store for us by themselves. And some people thought I was like,
I was gonna say,
yeah, crazy. What you doing? But I think so.
Not crazy, but like the first time you did it, like, did your heart sink? Like, were you like?
Of course, you looking like y'all been gone. How, like y'all should
like following.
What's like y'all should be back by now? No, we didn't. Well, y'all should be back by now. But like, you know, but you had to build toward it. It was like, okay, let me teach you how to like cross the street on your bike, right? Or like we have a place, there's like a little like kind of bagel and sandwich place. And like, I remember like the first time it's like, okay, we gonna like, I'm gonna give you some money for you to go over there by yourself and buy some food. I say the 2025 version of that because, you know, for a lot of reasons, that's hard to do.
First, yeah.
That stretches them.
Yeah.
And it stretches us as parents. So I don't think that's like a particularly like revolutionary thing, but for us, it was an exercise in like, you know, we want you to know that you can do stuff.
Letting go. Yeah.
And that we trust you.
Yeah.
And that's part of their maturation process. And part of ours as parents, because, you know, you as a parent, your relationship with your kids evolves. So I don't know if it's like innovative, but it's a way to stretch as parents.
It is.
Know?
And then when you think about it, going back to just having our own little full circle moment here, even when you think about what your grandmother did for you, right? Like the reason why you have fallen in love with computers, because she allowed, like nobody limited you.
Yeah.
They gave you all this room to be able to explore and figure out who you were without limitations.
Yeah.
And that is, I mean, that's profound and it's so powerful. And you don't necessarily know at 5 years old where it's going to go. Right. But now, 2025, in 2018, you get elected as the first Black lieutenant governor of Michigan because you knew no limit.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that I do think and I want, and there are so many people, so many families have limitations that were put upon them by circumstance, by experience. And our job is to try to make sure people are positioned with what they need so that they can do what they want. We just got to make it true that when you are ready to do something, able to do something, hungry to do something, you want to do something, that the answer to can you do it in Michigan is yes.
Is there, yeah.
Yeah, but that's what we got to do. Now, as lieutenant governor, I'm like, how do we put in place resources so that people in Michigan with ideas can raise money in Michigan? Because the state of Michigan can be their partner in raising that money. So I created something that's literally called the Michigan Innovation Fund to be $60 million of revolving resources for that purpose. You got an idea for a business you want to, and it's ready to scale, you know, rather than having to go outside of Michigan to get the money to do that, which makes it more likely than that you move your business away from Michigan.
Right.
Let's put in place resources so you can take that next step here.
Yeah.
You know, or stuff like the Michigan Economic Opportunity Fund, my favorite thing. So I led a process for us to apply to the federal government at that time, the Biden-Harris administration, through a program called the State Small Business Credit Initiative, SSBCI. And the state of Michigan was the only state that applied in the way that we did. And what we said was, we have a ton of people who are really, again, ambitious and hungry, but they've been disadvantaged as entrepreneurs. Women entrepreneurs get less funding. Black entrepreneurs, entrepreneurs of color, veterans, people with different disabilities, they've been sort of designed out of opportunity. They can't get loans from banks to do what they want to do.
Right.
So we thought we want to use these federal resources, get some other partners, and create a fund for those disadvantaged entrepreneurs to be able to do their thing in Michigan. So we stood that up, $10 million in 2023. You know what the first award went to? What? A hair salon. A Black woman to open a location for a hair salon.
That's so dope.
On Michigan Avenue. You know what I'm saying? Like that's innovation. That got nothing to do with technology.
Yeah.
That's saying, can we use this tool in a new, different, and better way that creates more value for people like her? And so I think putting in place tools is what this is about. And again, maybe that's just like the engineer, the system thinking, what are the tools that people need to do the thing they need to do?
That's what we need, though.
Yeah. I think it fits.
Yeah, that's exactly what we need. We don't need someone to sell us on fixing the problem. We need someone to make sure that the problem is actually fixed. Right. Is it hard for you to see a problem and not want to fix it?
Yes, it is. And, you know, look, we got limited resources. So it is difficult to say that I can address everything everywhere all at once. And so that's where the prioritization comes through the conversations and connections I make with people all over Michigan, so that if I'm hearing something that is, resonant in Delta County in the Upper Peninsula and resonant in Kalamazoo County and resonant in Monroe County and resonant on the west side of Detroit, like all these people are saying, we're worried about mental health. That to me sounds like, man, those are 4 different contexts. Yeah, we need that. That might be a statewide problem. And so me hearing something like that, that's what puts me to work and saying, I worked with our now retired Senator Debbie Stabenow to set up something called the Certified Community Behavioral Health Clinic Program. And we launched that in Michigan. We got almost 40 new mental health service centers across Michigan that serve people regardless of their ability to pay, regardless of whether they got insurance. And for those existing centers that have gotten that certification, like in Wayne County, for example, now they can serve 40% more patients. And so at a time when you have, the stuff I hear on mental health is just like mind blowing. Like, look, Cass won the state championship, right, in football. So the whole team comes to the Capitol, right? And these young men, they asked to meet with me in the Capitol. All right, that's great. My mother went to Cass, so it's great. And I asked them, all right.
Another full circle moment.
Like, all right, so look, y'all got me. Okay. What do you want me as a statewide elected official? What do you want me to be thinking about? Before I finished the sentence, they were like, we're worried about our friends' mental health.
Wow. High school?
High school. These boys who was there to celebrate winning the state championship. So
that's so progressive, though. Like, just thinking about our experiences, our trauma. So look, for like,
a child shall lead them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Man.
From the mouths of babes, right? I mean, like it was really something, but it was like, yeah, we do need to tackle this.
You are a fixer. Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist, the fixer. If you make that your campaign slogan, I'm not going to be mad at it. Yeah, I'm not going to be mad at it.
Stand tall for Michigan's pretty good, though.
That is a good one. That is good. Okay. Fair enough. What's one of the problems you're proudest of fixing?
Oh, you want me to choose amongst my children? I'm it's not a cop-out.
Okay.
It's not a cop-out.
Okay.
But for real though, like what I am proud of is working to like reset our mindset and expectation that if there is a problem, that is just a solution that we have not found yet. Problems are solutions that have not revealed themselves. And so that's like a posture, an approach, a confidence that says that yes, we can do that there is no such thing as an unsolvable problem. During the beginning of COVID, okay, thanks to the foresight of our state chief medical executive at the time, Dr. Jonae Caldoon, Black woman, this is important. She realized that our like public health infrastructure was not instrumented, didn't have the ability to be able to keep track of the race and ethnicity of all the people who got COVID tests or all the people who got infected with COVID. So before we even had a confirmed case of coronavirus in Michigan, she was like, we need to fix that. So she put in place a system so we could measure, keep track of, the race and ethnicity of people who were getting COVID tests, getting COVID infections, dying of COVID. Because she did that, when we did get our first confirmed case, March 10th, 2020, we saw very quickly that Black folks were getting infected at a higher rate, 5x of white Michiganders. Black folks were dying at a higher rate. Again, people of color dying at a rate 4 or 5x of white Michiganders.
Yeah.
So because she had the foresight to make sure we can measure it, once we observe the measurement, it's like, yo, this is really bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now there are racial disparities in health outcomes. Maternal health, more Black folks got a lot of conditions, high blood pressure, diabetes, heart condition, whatever. And there are many factors that contribute to that. But it's also very frustrating when you have people who will see that and you be like, yeah, that is what it is. But we were able to, in the state of Michigan, say, we're not going to accept that this thing is killing this group of Michiganders more than that group of Michiganders. Why is that? And so I led a task force on racial disparities, the only one of its kind in the country. We're the only state that was like, we don't accept this. Because that was true in other states. Nobody else was like, we should do something about that at a state level.
But that's innovation at its finest, though, right there. It's like
picking the problem to solve.
Yeah, exactly. And so not accepting the status quo. Yeah. Right.
So we need to do something about this. So we did. We put together this amazing task force, 26 amazing people from a broad set of perspectives from, obviously public health and medicine, but higher education, K-12 education, labor, faith, community leaders, young people, elders, educators. Like, it was all these people. And we said, we're going to try. We're going to try to actually make this not true anymore. And so we tried. And we succeeded.
And y'all succeeded. Yeah.
And so 9 months later, when Duke University of Michigan, went and validated our results from our report, they're like, yeah, that worked. And what it taught me is that you can make progress if you try.
Absolutely.
And so what I'm proud of is saying that we are going to try. Even if it's hard, even if nobody figured it out yet, we can be the ones that figured it out. The way that things are, it doesn't have to be. That's because some people made choices in the past. We can make different choices now. And we can do something different and new and better that works. And that's available to us if we try. So that's the thing I'm most proud of, is that approach that says that we don't have to give up on something.
We don't have to settle.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
don't. The only thing that needs to be inevitable is our desire to make something work.
I absolutely love that. So as a person who has played a key role in seeing Michigan through some of its most challenging times, what has that taught you about yourself and your leadership?
Well, what it's taught me about Michigan is that we have people who are capable of the impossible. That the notion of impossibility is an opinion. When people say something like that's impossible, that's not a fact. That's an opinion. And frankly, it's an opinion of people who are not imaginative enough to believe that something's possible. And what I see across Michigan is a lot of people who don't believe in impossibility. And that could be on the individual scale or the family scale or the neighborhood scale. So I'm really inspired by that. So as a servant, then my job is to try to feed that and understand that and to, again, make it possible, create the conditions and the space and the pathways such that people can charge ahead trying to do impossible things, trying to do things that other people don't think they're capable of. Because that's all we do is make stuff happen that didn't happen anywhere else in Michigan. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Culturally, manufacturing, invention. We have always been a place where people did things that other people couldn't do. And so I draw tremendous inspiration from that. And so I'm motivated to help make that continue to be true going forward.
I love that. And with your limitless mindset, now you are making history. You're making history again by running for governor. Why now? Why you?
Yeah. In this moment, there are a lot of people who, even with the progress we made, are still frustrated. They're frustrated that they haven't gotten enough results, or they haven't gotten results fast enough. And they just we have to get more. We have to do more. We have to, the more is available to us. And the fact that I'm not experiencing that pisses me off. They're mad about something. And when people have that kind of frustration, I think it opens them up to being lied to by somebody who wants to manipulate them. And I think that's what we've seen politically.
Yeah.
I think that's what Trump is. I think he's a liar who lies to people but who feeds on their frustration.
Yep, absolutely.
And so I believe that as a problem solver, as a solution builder, as an engineer who is relentlessly focused on getting results for people, I think that if we can show that we can deliver things and do things and make things happen, that will let people see that, yeah, you know what, we can move forward. And it shrinks the space that's available to the liars. Like, I believe that. And so I'm presenting myself as that problem solver, who the only person in this competition who has delivered on solutions to solve the problems that matter to people in every single part of Michigan. Like, there's not a place I can go in Michigan and say that we haven't created value there. And so that is a unique opportunity. And to bring that kind of energy in a way that can be super results oriented, but also values driven. Because look, we need to stand on our values. It's important. Everybody in Michigan needs to be part of the future. I'm not going to leave anybody out. I'm not going to let anybody get discriminated against, disrespected, or be left unprotected. And we can solve the problems to break the barriers that stand between people and that possibility. We can do that.
Absolutely.
And I'm excited to do that.
Absolutely. I definitely see the roadmap to it for sure. So when we're forging to this new land of innovation, ultimately that's what it looks like for you.
That's what it does. It's that when you go to sleep at night and you dream about, the place you want to see. I want it to be Michigan. I want it to be possible in Michigan. I think about the, like I said, you left Michigan after you graduated college. Mm-hmm. I left Michigan after I graduated college. When I go all around Michigan, one of the anxieties that unites families, parents across the state of Michigan is the fear that their baby is going to leave Michigan and never come back. Mm. It is felt as acutely on the east side as it is in Munising, Michigan, and Upper Peninsula. I found that, like, speaking to that, people have felt like, oh yeah, that's true, and they haven't had anybody sort of describe it in that way. But I know that because, like, I left, like, I lived that life. I was a kid who made that decision.
Right.
And so I really, really will do everything in my power to make it so that when someone is faced with that choice, regardless of what stage or station in life they're in, it could be somebody finishing school, but it could be just somebody who's just at a point in their career who's retiring and who's like, no, look, I'm ready to go somewhere else. I want Michigan to be a good option for them. I want them to be able to say yes to it.
So we are fixing problems and we are creating opportunities. Like, right. For real. That's we ain't just selling people on it. Like, that's right. We doing it.
That's how we do.
And you've done it.
That's how we do.
So finally, why is Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist, why is his journey worth traveling?
It's worth traveling because people help me. I am the result of other people's beliefs. I'm like, it's like all the basketball camps, after school programs, AAU teams, all that stuff, like, that people worked hard to make happen and make possible and get the funding for and do the curriculum and come together and drive the buses and all that stuff. Like, it worked. It worked. Because you got me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I feel like it is part of my responsibility to honor that. Honor that by trying to be the most effective version of myself. And then honor that by trying to build the current versions of those pathways for other people. That is why my journey is worth traveling, because, like, somebody thought it was worth traveling before they knew me. I got to walk on the path that they created. And so my job is to lay a path for somebody else.
Well, you've done that. You're doing that. And I know your grandma would be like, that computer at 5 years that I gave my grandson at 5 years old, that was absolutely the best investment. That was for sure the best investment.
Right.
Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist, thank you so much for taking us to the land of innovation.
Oh my gosh,
this was so incredible. You were such an amazing tour guide.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You.
Congratulations. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is such an amazing conversation.
Yeah, for sure.